A stinker in game seven at OKC, which I kind of had a vibe. In fact, I'm surprised it went seven. Gordon's injury, even in the winning games, I felt like Jokic was just running out of gas. Jamal Murray provided very little. Jason Timpf hoops tonight. Yeah, I felt like, they played their ass off early, but, from Caruso on Jokic to Murray's absence. I mean, Case and Wallace is hitting shots. Just like, okay, it's not going to be their day. I think I will say this. I mean, Oklahoma City was favored. I think we both liked them. I thought it would be a really good series. It was. I do think you kind of have to sort of. I mean, Christian Brown played a lot better. I think you do have to examine Jamal Murray. I just think in too many big games he has injuries. In too many big games, Jason, I just don't. I just don't feel like I'm getting. He was never hyper athletic anyway. I don't know. I think it's time to shuffle the deck. I would, if it was me, I would keep Gordon, Brown, for his energy. I would keep, Jokic, obviously. I'd move anything else. I'd take any call. How far off am I?
Well, I think that there's certainly going to be a pivot coming. I think that Michael Porter Jr. is the kind of player that I think they'll be almost certainly looking to move.
Yeah.
They used to need him desperately as a weak side spacer in the context of Aaron Gordon as a non-shooter. But now with
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon really coming together as just a super well-rounded, versatile role player on both ends of the floor, I think they can actually look to target more of a defensive-minded wing at that position instead of a guy like Michael Porter Jr., who's more of a shooter. I would
Yeah.
stick with Jamal because I think there's a lot of value specifically with the continuity with him in that matchup. This is a guy who's played two-man game with Jokic for over a half decade. And he just has
Yeah.
such a flow with him. I think there's a conversation to be had with Jamal as it pertains to his conditioning. And it's routine now that he comes into camp out of shape and he basically
Yeah.
plays his way into shape. And then suddenly, right before the All-Star break, he kind of starts to come together, and then he'll look good in the playoffs, just not as consistently good as he can be. I mean, Colin, as bad as he was tonight, he was absolutely brilliant in game six. But it's one of
Yeah.
those things where I think internally they're going to need more out of Jamal, but I certainly think a pivot's coming. I think the pivot's going to center around a Michael Porter Jr. trade. That's the kind of piece that they need to upgrade. I think Jamal, I think Christian Brown, I think Aaron Gordon, I think Nikola Jokic. I think that's a championship four. I just think they need someone more along the lines of like a Herb Jones, Jaden McDaniels type at the three than they need a Michael Porter Jr. They need to anchor this group with defense. They need to give themselves more athleticism and pop. You could feel the difference in the athleticism in this, especially in Game Seven tonight, like or today. Like they're in that beginning of the game is so funny on the broadcast. They show all the difference in experience. All those
Yeah.
Nuggets have played in like 20 game sevens combined, and there's like three on the OKC side. And they start the game, and Denver goes up 21-10, and it literally
Yeah.
feels like a classic young guy game seven. But then right at the end of the first quarter, Alex Caruso checks in. They really up their ball pressure, and man, did the wheels come off. It
Yeah.
completely came off from there, and they just were never able to regain control. And even Jokic, to your point, especially in that late second quarter run that OKC went on right before the half, he just
Yeah.
looked physically overwhelmed by how
Gassed.
physical their guards are.
Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video. Yeah, no, I mean it was like a 14-2 run, and they were getting up the floor, and I think, I think I've said this before. I think the first round should be 5 games. I think that's what it was in MJ's era, and I think the pace is faster. I think the athletes are bigger and stronger. I don't like the NFL going to 18 games eventually. I think we should. I don't. That doesn't do it for me, because I think athletes now they're training year round. You ask more, bodies break down. But I think we're going to end up, we're ending up with really good coaching staffs with OKC, Minnesota, Indiana, and the Knicks. That's what we're ending up with. And I think we're ending up with, I mean, between Halliburton and Jalen Brunson and SGA and, I mean, Ant, obviously, I feel like the Eastern Conference feels much different than the Western Conference. In the Western Conference, I just love the construct of the rosters. I mean, if you look at Minnesota, it should not be this good. Rudy Gobert's an offensive whole at times. Conley's 6 years past his prime. Ant is a superstar, a developing superstar. Julius Randle was never a good playoff performer and struggled the first month or two with the T-Wolves. But I see this roster, I see the athleticism, I see the size. Great GM came from Denver, and I see a staff that just gets everything out of its players, that like coaches them hard. It's like almost like Spoelstra coaches them hard, has no problem barking, but I feel like I'm getting every player's best game. And with Oklahoma City, like Sam Presti, I feel again, I just think there's just so much energy and so many guys that can do high-end rotational players. So in the West, you can touch on this. I think it's really good coaching. Obviously, two of the top 4 or 5 stars in Ant SGA, but I think it's really good coaching, really good GMing, really nice rosters with a variety of options to throw at teams. Big energy, youth, and just there's so many levers for both coaches to pull in the West. Hey, so we all make mistakes, but owning up to them is the right thing to do. So, Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula and it did not go over well with their fans. So, Degree's whole thing is it turns up the sweat and odor protection when you turn up the effort. And good thing it does because Cool Rush fans really turned up the effort to bring the original formula back. One guy even started an online petition, and Degree listened. They admitted they effed up. They're bringing back the original Cool Rush scent. They're bringing it back, and it's exactly how you remember it. Cool, crisp, and fresh. It's back in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. There's a reason it's been the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. It's the same reason why people were not happy when it changed. So if you've never tried it, it might be a good time to see what the fuss is about. Head to your local Walmart, Target, and try the OG Degree Cool Rush for yourself.
Yeah, it's depth is the recurring theme that I see for sure, in the sense that the Pacers have 3, 4, 5 guys that they lean on in substantial roles off the bench. Same with Oklahoma City. Same with Minnesota. You're getting Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. These teams just have wave after wave of talent. And even with the Knicks, like the Knicks don't have the depth in terms of like playing an 8 or 9 man rotation. But Mitchell Robinson is like a legit 6th starter for them. And so is Deuce McBride. I think Deuce McBride's a very good backup guard. And so I think that's part of it. Having like a rock solid 7 that you can count on, I think makes a big deal. I mean, to your point, Colin, literally we got into the start of the second quarter and David Adelman inexplicably leaves Jokic and Murray off the court at the same time. And we got to see a little bit of Denver's bench there for a minute. It wasn't pretty. And so
No.
I think depth is a significant part of it. There is an interesting trend, Colin, towards offense in late playoff success. 2 years ago, Denver is the first team that's not a defending champion that was not a top 10 defense to win the title. Last year, we had 3 top 10 offenses, 2 top 10 defenses. This year, all 4 teams in the Final Four are top 10 offenses, but only Oklahoma City and Minnesota are top 10 defenses, which I find really fascinating. The offensive side of the floor is becoming more important as the coaching staffs and the defensive schematics have made it so that groups like that Denver group can actually defend pretty well when they're engaged and they're playing hard. And so what's really becoming important is, do you have the scoring talent to actually put the ball in the basket in these tight competitive environments?
You know what's interesting? There's a real change in the league, and I think it's one Adam Silver, the commissioner, wanted. I don't think it's a coincidence that Halliburton and Brunson are high IQ, EQ floor generals. 5 years ago it was, let's get 3 really good players together, and I think Adam Silver looked at that and just thought that's not what we want here. Like that's just eliminating half to 60 to 70% of the teams, and you're getting the basketball that Adam Silver wanted: physical playoff basketball, no dynasties, with multiple aprons. You can't have a stacked roster. Even Boston, they cheated the code a little bit for a year, and then they looked really old this year. Like once we move off probably Porzingis or a Horford or a Drew Holiday, Boston's going to face what everybody else does, right? With new ownership. So I think it's what the league wanted, and I got to tell you what I really like about it. I love nothing against wings, MJ and Kobe, but I like point guard driven basketball. I love smart point guard play. I always love Chris Paul, where everybody gets touches. I went golfing this morning very early in Burbs in Chicago, and we started talking about Jalen Brunson, and we were all sports fans, and we were all like, "Yeah, I watched them at Villanova. I didn't see that. I watched them at Dallas. I didn't see that." But I think you know how you and I had talked about certain players when the league went three heavy, guys like Dwight Howard or Tristan Thompson. It's like, man, you can't have them on the floor. It's almost like Adam Silver has moved basketball into Brunson and Halliburton, which is it's not you're not going to have you're going to have these rosters that aren't all star studded. They're rotational players, they're role players. So intelligence, everybody getting touches, pacing becomes huge. Like I look at Brunson now and I'm like, I feel like the league's kind of built for him and Halliburton. It's 28 points isn't necessary. It's when you don't have a top heavy roster, Jason, and you actually have seven guys that can play eight guys, and you get them all touches. I don't know. I watch the league and I don't feel like the Knicks and the Pacers are outliers. I'm like, no, like they're my favorite two teams right now in the league to watch.
I think you're absolutely onto something here, Colin. I think what we're seeing is offensive minded stars that are able to create advantages, and then these deep rosters of talent living off of that advantage. Essentially, like as the game has modernized, there's a lot of really similar jobs on offense. Like a backdoor cut is a backdoor cut, regardless of what type of athlete you are. If you're attacking a closeout, it's the same for the Pacers as it is for the Knicks, as it is for the Nuggets. If you're making reads in a 4-on-3, slipping out of a ball screen because they put two on Brunson or they put two on Halliburton, it's the same reads in Golden State as it is in Indiana, as it is in New York. And so what happens is you can, as a GM, accumulate these types of talent, these two-way players that can attack closeouts, make reads, play defense,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. And all it becomes is, do you have a guy, a singular force that can constantly bring two to the ball or make the right reads to generate that first closeout? And then from there, it's a flow sport. It's all about the aggregate talent on the floor capitalizing on that advantage. But Tyrese Halliburton is succeeding because he's one of the best advantage creators in basketball. Brunson does it a little bit more of a lean towards scoring, but I mean,
Yep.
keep an eye on this series. In this matchup in particular, the Pacers have been able to hold Brunson's scoring down a little bit by constantly putting two on the ball. This will be a series where we're going to see a lot of OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart looking to make plays. It is a very interesting directional change for the league in this offensive
Yeah.
theme that we're talking about. This is why guys like Luka are so valuable. This is why guys like Nikola Jokic are so valuable. When you have somebody that's like got to throw multiple pieces at this guy, all of a sudden there these really achievable roles appear for role players. And those are the kinds of guys that good GMs are picking up all over the league. To Sam Presti's credit, he's got like 8 of these dudes that can defend multiple positions, knock down a catch and shoot three, drive a closeout, make a read, or grab a rebound. And so as a result, they just come flying in. It's like, good job. You finished the J-Dub and Dort phase. Here comes
Yeah.
Kason Wallace and Alex Caruso for your next shift. Have fun with that. They might actually be
Yeah.
better at it.
Yeah, no, I like. I mean, I don't think I think the league would do better if it's OKC. Well, I mean, actually, Ant Edwards probably Ant against the Knicks would be really good to have Ant
Mm.
go for 42 in the Garden. Um, it's fans always root for the home team. So when the Knicks win, the fans are going to say, "We told you so." I think a really fascinating team, though, is the one that lost. And we see this a lot in the NBA, the end of dynasties. That's not the case because the Celtics were never a dynasty. But I do feel like I felt when Denver won, I thought, oh, here come the Spurs. And then they weren't. And then I thought when the Celtics won, I thought it's going to be like a 3-year run. And then they weren't. And next year, obviously, without Tatum. Tatum is fine if he misses 4 games, 2 games. When he misses the season, it's just a different ball game because Jalen Brown can
Mm.
be a little hot and cold offensively. Boston, and again, there's so many smart front offices in the NBA. We both kind of agree they're going to get rid of some kind of expensive older guys. Do you think they'll go big game hunting in Boston?
I don't think they'll go big game hunting right away. I think it's got to be more of a big picture 2 year kind of window to make this sort of transition. Because like essentially you could take all of next year, you own your own draft pick. So like you could be bad and that could lead into more talent coming in through the draft. There's the ability to offload like older role players in hopes of bringing back younger role players. So like flip a Drew Holiday to a team that needs a better player right away. Like for instance, like I would be calling Dallas and I would see what I could get for Drew Holiday. Like, okay, we need a center. So they've got Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. They Cooper Flagg is literally going to be playing the forward next to Anthony Davis, next to Derek Lively. Maybe we can turn Drew Holiday into PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. Now I got a 4 and a 5 that could both start in this league that are 26 years old instead of 34 years old like Drew Holiday is. I think those are the kinds of moves they'll be looking to make. And then it's essentially going to be just asset accumulation in hopes of being able to pivot around Jason Tatum in that following season. But this is the challenge, Colin. I mean, the Raptors win, they lose Kawhi, then they end up losing the next season, right? The Lakers win, but then Anthony Davis and LeBron get hurt. They make a tweak, they can't repeat. The Bucks, they don't pay PJ Tucker. Chris Middleton gets hurt, they can't repeat. The Warriors, they Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins both fall back to what they're normally like. The Nuggets, they can't pay Bruce Brown and they can't pay Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Suddenly they are second tier contender. The Celtics, these windows look long, but OKC is going to have to pay all these guys. Right. And it's only a matter of time before suddenly it's Shea and J-Dub and some lesser level talent around them. And all of a sudden it's going to be a harder game.
The NBA 82-game grind is done. Now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs. Love them. They're here. Time for drama, clutch moments, Steph Curry, LeBron, jaw-dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. They're the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Playing games all the way to the finals. Now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. So all season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props. That doesn't stop now. If you want to make your playoff experience even more intense, try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30, 40, who knows, or more? It's your call. If you're ready to place your first bet, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Takes 90 seconds. Lock in your bets, and let's make the playoffs unforgettable. Here's something special for first-timers. DraftKings customers that are new, bet $5. That's it, $5, and get 200 in bonus bets instantly. Just make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download their Sportsbook app. Takes 90 seconds. The code's Colin, C-O-L-I-N. That is code Colin. New customers get $200 in bonus bets. Betting just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. You know, here's something else, and this is another shift, which I think is great for basketball. I think with the NIL, more players will stay an extra year in college or go to college. So I do think when they enter the league, they're more ready to play. I mean, we've had a lot of Jalen Greens over the last 10 years, like guys that are talented, but you just see in 3 years, you know, like get some polish. But if you play, you know, for Bill Self or Hurley for even 1 year and maybe 2, I'm not saying you're a Villanova guy, but you're ready to play in the league. And I do think the growth and explosion of NIL money actually helps the NBA. I think Adam Silver's always known there's, you know, it's a little bit of a liability. First of all, you want more tape on a player, so fewer players are busts. Like NFL GMs have such an advantage. They got 3 and 4 years of tape, and you're kind of guessing because college basketball coaches often control the offense. So you're like, is he a good decision maker? What am I getting? But you're going to get a couple years of tape. So you have a better evaluation, and I think you're going to get more mature players. They're just more refined because I think college coaching and the college environment, we talked about this, March Madness, you know, conference championships, those are intense NBA feeling like environments. So I actually think basketball is in a really good place. I think, you know, baseball right now is so lopsided, you know, where it's just like Dodgers are throwing out like 8 all-star level players. They're going through massive injuries and it doesn't matter. But I think basketball is in a really good place. And I think, you know, when you start looking at the market, I don't think markets have the levers they used to. Like I like watching OKC play. I'm fine with it. And I've been kind of market sensitive in my life. As a broadcaster, I always kind of looked for the bigger, more interesting markets, but I don't know. I like watching Indiana. I like OKC. I don't have a problem with. So I think the league would, we all know if New York faced Ant, it would probably be the win. I will say this. Part of me thinks Minnesota. They always say styles make fights. Like I've gone to a lot of boxing matches and I have to watch 2 rounds to get really comfortable. I'm not sure. I don't have strong senses on the series. I like the experience of Minnesota and the coaching staff. I think Oklahoma City should win, but I'm not sure. And I think Indiana is better than the Knicks. I just think they have more depth. I think they again I think let's talk about that. I think Indiana and Carlisle has more lineups to throw at you. He's got a little more dexterity. That's my interpretation. You.
Yeah, they have like 6 different dudes that could go for 20 plus points on any given night. And they play with such pace and they play with such energy. The reason why I like the matchup with the Pacers versus the Knicks, the Pacers don't have a single player in this postseason, Colin, that's averaging over 35 minutes per game. On the Knicks, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are both averaging over 40, and all
Yeah.
5 starters are over 35 minutes per game. They
Yeah,
lean
yeah.
on a whole lot of the heavy minutes for their core 5 guys. What the Pacers do, as you've seen so many times already in this postseason, is you got them. You're up 13, you're up 14, and you feel like you're in good shape. But the problem is like they make one layup and then they pick you up full court again. And then they do it again and they do it again. And every time you turn it over, they run it down your throat again. And they play with so much pace and so much energy. And they literally never let go of the rope. In the Knicks, as we've seen a ton of times in the Pistons series and even in the Celtics series, they can have really sloppy nights where they get
Yeah.
undisciplined. And I think they'll pay the price against Indiana in this matchup with that. Also, like to your point, I think the Pacers are just playing really good basketball right now. They're peaking at the tail end of the season. They've been playing like this for the last couple months, really. They've been really cooking at this level. Tyrese Halliburton is playing every bit as well as Jalen Brunson, just in a different way because he's more of like a
Right.
Steve Nash than he is a legit on-ball scoring guard. Siakam has a lot of similarities to OG Anunoby. Aaron Nesmith is literally averaging 15 points a game in this postseason, and he's knocking every three down off the. He's shooting over 50% on open threes in this postseason run. Andrew Nemhard is just a playoff gamer who can do a little bit of everything. Miles Turner is shooting like 45% on threes in this postseason. Like they are just everyone's playing super well. They go like 8-9 deep. They never stop coming at you. I have a feeling this is the last thing I'll say about it. It kind of reminds me, Colin, of the Golden State Warriors back in the day, where they play such a unique style that there's like this shock and awe phase at the beginning of each series, where it's like you're used to playing a certain type of team, and then all of a sudden here come the Warriors and they're running Steph and Clay through a million screens, and it's just bizarre. And they catch you off guard and they go up 2-0 in the series, and all of a sudden you're fighting upstream. The Pacers jumped the Cavs in game 1. And that was, I know Garland didn't play. That's a good Cavs team that was at home. They got punched in the mouth by the Pacers because they were not ready for the way they play. And
Right.
the same thing happened to the Bucks in the first round. So like I look at it as a kind of series where Indiana probably steals game 1, and then New York is fighting upstream against a deeper team that never stops playing hard, that never plays their main guys big minutes. And I just think it's going to be too much for them to overcome. I do think the Knicks have a chance, but I would
Yeah.
make the Pacers a decent favorite.
Well, I think my take is if the games are close late, I love New York's shot making ability. I think they're really
Mhm.
good. I think they're very physical. They're well coached. They make shots. They're totally unselfish, but it's Brunson's team. I think if you told me there were three 12-point games in the series, I'd take Indiana. Indiana can
Yeah.
wear you out.
Mhm.
But I think those. I think my of the entire playoffs, if I had one kind of wow. It was Jalen Brunson and the Knicks shot making in multiple games against the Celtics, a good defensive team. Like, wow. And Jason, it really made me look at the Knicks differently from through a different prism. I really felt all year, go get Giannis, go get Durant. You need a big piece. And I'm like, no, not really. I think you need a piece. I don't think it's a huge piece. I thought Bridges, oh geez, just big and physical. And again, the league now has said we're going to let guys like the league's stylistically is playing right into what the Knicks do. I think they need. I think they need. Cat doesn't defend. Mitchell Robinson, you don't trust offensively. I feel like if you could morph and you could get. Listen, didn't
It
we
was
talk about
Isaiah
this last time?
Hartenstein, Colin. It was Isaiah
That's right.
Hartenstein.
That's
Like
right.
they
That's
should
right.
have just made some sort of salary dumping trade with Julius if that's what they
Yep.
were going to do, and just picked up Hartenstein
Yep.
because he would literally be perfect as
Perfect.
the two-way
Perfect.
fulcrum for this team. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he is. That's exactly right. But I don't look at the Knicks as needing a big swing. And a credit to the front office, the executive suite, which was impatient for years. The Knicks have made, like Mikal Bridges, I like the move. And then halfway through the season, I'm like, that's a lot of firsts for Mikal Bridges. And then you watch in the playoffs, you're like, oh shit, no, this works. He's
Yeah.
a really, really good player. And he fits their culture. So
Yeah, the Knicks, it came together in the right way for them late in the season. It started with a couple of different things, and mostly it comes down to me, the conversation we were having earlier, which is all season long when I watch the Knicks, I'm like, why are they bad on defense? They've got
that's right. That's
they've got
right.
three really good defenders on the floor all season. By the way, like Mikal Bridges wasn't very good on defense this season. Brunson and Cat were abysmal most of the season on defense. In this postseason, Mikal has turned into one of the better point of attack guys in the league. OG Anunoby's literally been flying around like prime Kawhi making plays. And Jalen Brunson, outside of game 5 against Boston, has been very good defensively in this playoff run. And so what's happening is they're leveraging a higher level out of themselves defensively, and they've been a great offense all year long. And so it's really coming together in that way. I just worry. To me, I just think the Pacers are a little bit better. I just think they're a little bit better on defense. They have a better rim protector. They're a little bit better on offense. They're a little bit deeper. That to me is what it comes down to.
And now for our next segment, Whiskey Business, brought to you by Green River Whiskey, the official whiskey of the Colin Cowherd podcast. If you want to enjoy life's simple pleasures, reach for Green River Whiskey. Whether it's rye whiskey, single barrel bourbon, you're getting over a century of craftsmanship packed into every bottle. Hop on over to greenriverwhiskey.com and discover a legend in a bottle today. Well, think about this. That's why the T-Wolves beat the Lakers. And I mean, that's really it. That's why the T-Wolves beat the Warriors. If you say, well, they're deeper, that's why OKC beat Denver. I mean, the depth thing, when you allow this level of physicality, it wears players out even more. And I think you're seeing that depth really. In my entire life, there was always two things that were true about the playoffs. It was more physical, and depth was overrated. You play 8, you trust 7, and it's like, oh no, it's more physical and depth has been huge. I don't remember a year. Well, we all know veterans tend to beat kids. That's kind of a given. But I don't remember a year, to me, where it was like one of the first punches is, well, they have more levers. I think Indiana and OKC probably should win the series because of. When Denver won the title, we didn't think. I mean, they had KCP or a Bruce Brown. We didn't think depth, right? Jokic at the time was a poor defender. We just thought, listen, they have the best player. They were hitting on all cylinders. They had enough good guys off the bench. Depth matters, and I don't remember it ever in my life being this big of a factor in the playoffs. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think the physicality plays a big role. I think you're right. I think that the depth is giving you the ability to withstand physicality. I mean,
Right.
ultimately, like Denver blew this series in game 4 and game 5 when they had fourth quarter leads and all their stars looked exhausted down the stretch while the Thunder stars looked fresh and they were able to make plays. The younger, more athletic, deeper team just came on strong late in the game. I think the second thing that the physicality has done, which has actually been pretty interesting, is, do you remember, Colin, over the previous few years, how we just had so many blowouts where it just felt like teams would go back and forth, like blowing each other out. And I think one of the things that the increased physicality has done is it's made it really difficult to shoot threes because everyone's legs are cooked. And even in this game 7, you see no one's stepping. There's a whole lot of games where teams are shooting 20% from 3 and it's just a bloodbath. And I think that's dragging the games down into everything's finishing. You're looking at the clock and it's 93-93 with 8 minutes left. And it's causing for a lot of great games.
This is a great point because And I think you're right on because I was talking about this the other day as we were preparing for a show. I'm like, man, just there's a lot of bad 3-point shooting nights, and I couldn't quite pinpoint it. But I think when you get into tush push basketball and it's just leaning on each other, teams are tired and it brings the offense down. And I think that's a great point. In fact, what it also creates is when you're not hitting threes, you tend to you realize it. The coaching staff knows it. Longer the series goes, you start shooting fewer. One of the things I never liked about 3-point shots is it's not you can box out all you want. The rebounds are long and weird, and you can't. And so you can have great position, but when you're playing a more physical game inside the arc, you run like traditional fast breaks. You get, a 4-foot carom. You get it, the outlet. So the aesthetic of the fast break, like OKC did it about 6, 7 times over a 5-minute stretch. Oh, it looked like old playoff. It looked like old college, high school, old 70s NBA fast break. Here's the point guard. Two guys in the wings fill in. A guy's backpedaling, finish with dunks. 3-point shooting so weird. To me, I don't like the idea of you miss and a ball caroms 20 feet out to the corner. It stops play. You come back up. I think I really do. This is a cliche, but it's giving me a little bit of a college feel and a little bit of an old NBA feel. And I've said this for years. I like the layered basketball more than 3-point shooting basketball. And I think your point's great, is that the more, the unintended benefit. I don't know if they thought about this, but the more physicality, the lousier 3-point shooting, and the less you scheme up 3-point shooting. You're scheming up baskets. It feels like to me.
No, absolutely. I think in general, it's a better version of what old basketball looked like. It's physical, it's ugly, but you have the impressive skill level that we have in the modern
Yes.
NBA. And so it's kind of given us the best of both worlds. But I'm super excited for OKC Minnesota. I'm with you in the sense that I have almost no feel for it because Minnesota was a team that was much better than their regular season looked. If you talk to any Timberwolves fan all season, they were like, we just weren't playing as hard on defense as we did last year.
Right.
Minnesota has some more veteran guys than you'd think. Like Julius is
Yeah.
a vet, Rudy Gobert is a vet, Mike Conley's a vet. Like they've got some guys that have been around for a little while, and so they just kind of took it easy through the season. Oklahoma City, everybody not named Caruso in their rotation is 26 or younger. They've just been going crazy all 82 games, and so they're two teams that I think OKC is probably not as good as they looked in the season. Minnesota's better than they looked in the regular season. Two great defenses, both anchored by both rim protection with Chet and Rudy Gobert, and two big looks with Naz Reid as well as Isaiah Hartenstein. Elite on-ball guard with size that can shoot over the top. Like Ant and Shea, just which one of them makes more jumpers over the top? Huge part of this series. Because guess what? There's not going to be a lot at the rim for either team in the series. Role player shooting. We just watched Lou Dort and Kason Wallace and Alex Caruso take a bunch of threes. It's going to be Jaden McDaniels. It's going to be Julius Randle, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo. I do think there's a real like veteran experience advantage for Minnesota.
Yes.
But Oklahoma
Yes.
City also has home court advantage, and they're probably just a little bit deeper, a little bit faster. So that's going to be a fun one, Colin. And what a like if we had to have the new guard for a playoff quarter final four, these are pretty interesting series. The Knicks and Pacers kind of hate each other. They've played each other in the playoffs before. Shea versus Ant is literally the battle of the two best guards in the league right now. I think this is going to be an entertaining quarter or semifinal.
All right, Jason Timpf, hoops tonight. A little shorter version as we get ready for the conference finals. I'm just going to watch I'm going to take Indiana and OKC just because of depth and the coaching options. I don't feel great conviction. I think this is Ant's moment. Ant's knocked a lot of good guys out of the playoffs. I mean, you
Mhm.
start looking the last 2 years, Ant has knocked a lot of legends out of the playoffs. I, but it's not just an SGA thing. When you're watching them annihilate Denver in transition and in the paint, I'm like, Jesus, it's just all. It's a 10 rotation. That's just unheard of. Um, yeah,
I think I lean slightly towards Minnesota right now. I think the thing I keep coming down to is J Dub. And again, I'm going to watch a bunch of film and I'll make my pick when I do my series preview tomorrow morning. But J Dub was super inconsistent in this series. Julius Randle's been fantastic in this postseason run.
Jesus.
I think I trust Naz Reid more to score the ball than Chet in terms of over the top shooting and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I trust Minnesota's experience. I'm leaning just slightly that way at this point in time.
Yeah, Randall's been a revelation, and
Mhm.
and I think it was funny. I talked to Chris Finch off the air about him. I said, "Well, what do you make of this?" He's like, "He'll get there. He's not there yet." This was like 3 months ago. He's like, "He's gonna get there," but we're asking him to do other stuff. He's become a much better distributor. I mean, his assist numbers are up, so it's like,
Mhm.
and he's hitting 3-point shots. So, yeah, it's funny too, Knicks. The shot making of Jalen Brunson and really a revelation in Julius Randle are my two sort of wow. I
Yeah.
can remember when Julius Randle was a Laker. It was becoming a three-ball league. And I can remember going to a Laker game saying, God, this guy's just a he's a house. Like this guy is his body is like a 38-year-old man. And thinking to myself, and I remember the Lakers were cool on him because he didn't shoot threes. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm getting like 18 and 8. He defends. He's always got a smile on his face. Like I'm like, God, if he's not an NBA player, like what is the league? Remember when they said Zach Edey wouldn't fit? And you're like, no,
Yeah.
no, Zach Edey's fine in the NBA. Like I remember going to a Laker game, watching him and thinking, dude, he's just really his energy is great. You know what I mean? Just like he wasn't a pretty player. He was really old school. So I always love when a guy's coachable and coaches coach hard. I think
Mhm.
Minnesota's done that with a couple of players. Like they coach hard and the players are like they digest it, they consume it, and it's I don't know. I think that when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving said we don't need a coach, I'm like, guys,
Mm.
really, come on, give me a break. Like the great players all want great coaching. Come on.
Yeah, the Julius Randle piece too. He's just so physically imposing. Like he's a much better athlete than he gets credit for. I mean, I know LeBron was 40, but he kind of kicked LeBron's butt athletically in that series a few times. And like he ultimately that's to me what makes him a good playoff player. I thought his playoff struggles originally were a little overblown because he was just injured. He was like either playing through an injury or had just returned from an injury and was clearly out of rhythm. He had a long runway this year and was playing great right when he was playing great when he got to the postseason. And he's a decent passer who legitimately can battle for position and make little short jump shots in the lane. That is going to help an NBA team in the playoffs. Like like he has a skill set that's kind of built for this environment. And I actually think he's defended really well in this postseason. And the one guy that I was really worried about him defensively was Steph Curry, and he got out of that matchup because of an injury. So it worked out pretty fine for him.
First time in NBA history, we will have 7 different champions in a 7-year stretch. And I'm here for it. Jason Timpf, Hoops Tonight, as always. Thanks, buddy.
Good to see you, Colin. See you next week.